All right, so for SMB networking, we have our new WebSmart Series 3 that was launched earlier this year. It's the DGS 1210 series that replaces the DGS 1200 series that some of you are very familiar with. All right, so in terms of SMB, all right, which is basically where D-Link's core strength was for the last few years, the WebSmart and our entry-level manageable switches are the two most popular models. All right, so this is the summary for the DGS 1210-10P. This is something that is very popular for places where you need 5 to 8 ports, and then you need 1 or 2 fiber links back to the main building. All right, this is basically a 10-port gigabit switch. Out of the 10 port, 8 of them are PoE capable, and 2 PoE ports that are not PoE capable have shared SFPs for gigabit fiber transceivers. All right, with our D-Link Green Ethernet technology, basically our switches are now able to reduce power consumption. Some testing basically saw our switches reduce by up to 80% of energy consumption. It is able to reduce this power consumption by 3 different features. Number 1, detecting link status. Right, most switches, even if you've unplugged the cable, right, the lights goes off, each port still draws quite a large amount of power. Okay, our switches basically has the ability to shut individual ports down to a standby mode. Right, that draws, I think, less than 10% of electrical power. Second, when you plug in a cable and you turn on a PC, all right, what the switch would do is detect the length of the cable that is being used. By standard, UTP is supposed to go up to 100 meters, so all switches basically powers the ports such that they can transmit data up to 100 meters. But most of the time, you don't reach 100 meters. You have a short patch, 20-meter cable, all right. What the switch would do is, if the length is short, it will just reduce the amount of power used on a per port basis. Great. Okay, next is our firewall solution. All right, this is our full range of firewalls. We used to have the DFL series, right? Stands for D-Link Firewall. I think that's pretty simple. From 160, that's more for SOHO. 260 and 860, these are the two that are more popular. All right. I think we even deployed a lot of 860s in a lot of K-12 schools, right, with 2 internet connections and 800 students. And we do have higher end ones which are for large enterprise or for large schools, DFL 1660 and 2560. So for the DSR series, we have 3 models, DSR 500N, 1000N, and 1000N 3G. Right, the differences between the 500N and 1000N is capacity. Right, so all gigabit interfaces, dual WAN failover. You can configure them as a failover or load balance scenario. If you need 3G, you will need to get our 3G USB dongle. If you want them come in a bundle, it's basically DSR 1000N 3G. All right, so it's a 1000 plus our 3G dongle. Wi-Fi capable, all VPN supported, PPTP, L2TP, IPsec, and SSL VPNs. They're all, well, SPI firewall, your regular firewall rules and filters capabilities, D-Link Green technology, and IPv6 support. All right, so load balancing scenario. You want to combine bandwidth of 2 WAN links, round robin of spillover, or you can configure it as a backup. So use only 1 internet connection. The second internet connection is only a backup. All right, USB port sharing for USB printer or USB storage, so shares on the network. VPN connectivity, all the different branch users, remote users logging in. So that's an example of how all these different DSRs and different branches can all link in. All right, and then the 2 new models to our DFL series. All right, DFL 260E and 860E. Basically, gigabit WAN ports as well. 2 of them. The LAN ports are all gigabit. They have DMZ ports. Up to 100 VPN tunnel for the 260E and up to 300 VPN tunnels for the 860E. Okay, hardware accelerated in terms of firewall, VPN, AES encryption, as well as our virus scanning, 2WAN failover and load balancing, intrusion prevention, antivirus, anti-spam, web content filtering, comprehensive bandwidth management, so you can throttle bandwidth based on per user, per application, or combination of per user and per application. Security integration with our X-Stack switches, so the 860 and above basically have what we call zone defense technology. That is, the firewall is able to send information to our X-Stack range of switches. All right, so our UTM basically encompasses all web filtering, anti-spam, antivirus, firewall, and VPN, intrusion detection and prevention, and load balancing all into one single device. You can activate any feature you want. Things like antivirus, web content filtering, and intrusion detection and prevention requires subscription. You need to update your antivirus database and so on. So if you want to activate that, you need to get annual subscriptions. All right, so our intrusion prevention database is from McAfee. It used to be Endeavor. McAfee bought over them. So now it's from McAfee. Antivirus is from Kaspersky Lab. They are, I think, the highest OEM for antivirus. So there are lots of firewalls that, lots of UTM devices uses Kaspersky's antivirus because they are one of the best. And Content Keeper, right, that's an Australian company. So we use their services and their servers as well. All right. Some of the features of our UTM firewall, if you're not aware, is that our firewall scans packet in real time. Okay, a lot of firewalls, UTM devices, they will have to receive the entire file before they can scan it. Right, so if you send an email with an attachment, it passes through the firewall will have to save the entire file, scan it for virus, right? Nothing, it will go out to the mail server. We buffer just a section and we do real-time scan. So this, these few packets have no virus, that goes through, all right? And the advantage basically means that we don't need to use a lot of memory and we reduce latency. That's why a lot of UTM devices actually have limitations in attachment, right? It can't be more than a certain meg, otherwise the device doesn't have enough memory to scan the entire file. We do not have such a limitation. Web content filtering, so you can filter based on categories, right? So block all pornography, block all adult websites, block gambling, block sports, yes, no. You can, there are 32 categories for you to block and allow. They're all based on Content Keeper's category. You have the ability to override or request a recategorization of the URL. It has the ability to block JavaScripts, ActiveX, Flash, and cookie. So if you really want to lock down your web experience, you can actually turn this off and the firewall will strip all these off the web page, right? You have customizable block pages. So if a web page is blocked, right, you can customize, a little page that tells the user the page you're going to is not allowed by policy or, whatever rules because it is adult content, okay?
So what is PowerShell? Well, first of all, it's PowerShell is a shell, and that's the way I like to use it. It's similar to the old DOS. Okay, so PowerShell, believe it or not, it's extremely consistent. It's what you learn on PowerShell on Windows 7. Those skills directly translate to Microsoft Exchange, and Link is another example. And for myself, I've started using SBS because getting ready for this presentation, I wanted to look at what SBS was. And I suddenly realized that, a lot of the commands, they're all the same. And I could jump on, start using SBS on day one because I knew PowerShell. Also, discoverability. So you'll learn as you go down the PowerShell journey, hate that word, but is how discoverable PowerShell is. And that is due to its 3 commandlets. Now these 3 commandlets, we're going to go over there. If you only learned 3 things tonight. So, using PowerShell, how do we get started? Basically, you've just got to use it. You've got to use it daily. Sometimes in my job, I go off and I'm doing installations and I get stuck into the old documentation. And I might be stuck in documentation for 2 or 3 weeks. Problem is then I've become rusty in PowerShell. So my key, what I always say, if you want to start learning PowerShell, you really need to use PowerShell and you need to continually use it. So, what I thought I'd do is go through some online resources. One of the sites, shameless plug, I guess, this is PowerShell Down Under. The club, used to group up here in Brisbane. We have, last count now, was about almost 300 members. Now that is around Australia, and that has been since TechEd. So before TechEd, we're about 60 people. Interesting, TechEd this time last year, I'd asked people, are you going to learn PowerShell? And it was no. Okay, so morelunches.com is another one. This is a particular book I highly recommend by Don Jones. In actual fact, in November, we're running some training based on this, and I've got some details further on of some other live meetings and that you can come to. Don Jones Shell Hub. So there's some really good links in that on this site. Generally, the links on this site are really good to go, especially when you're learning PowerShell. Don's Windows PowerShell with a blog, another good blog. So Don really is geared towards the Windows IT Pro trying to learn PowerShell. Hey scripting guys, so Ed Wilson, this is great place. With Ed's blog, he gets into a bit more detail these days than he used to, but he has some great articles, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but he's getting started and the scripting live articles, as well as a few webcasts. Now, some of those webcasts go into a lot more detail and get into the shell and explain a few things, so they're well worth it as well. It's run by a company called Idera. So one of the first things that are going to happen is once you start using PowerShell, you're going to want a script editor. And there's two. There's one made by Idera, and probably the best thing on this site is the Power Tips. I think you can see that. So they have a daily email, and it's a short, sharp, single email. I want to run a service. I want to do this, so it's nice, quick, easy tips. Power GUI. So powergui.org. Power GUI is a script editor, and it's a very good script editor. If the price is right, they have a free version. Some third-party apps, right? So making PowerShell easier. PowerShell can be daunting at first, and you start to use it. But some of these third-party apps make it a lot easier. For example, with the Power GUI script editor, like I said, it's free, so no excuses. The other cool thing Power GUI has is this thing, which is what they call Power GUI proper, I guess. It's Power GUI. And everything in here is PowerShell driven. PowerShell Plus, which is from Idera, so PowerShell.com people. Similar thing to Power GUI. They don't have a free version, but go through some of this stuff. So I've mentioned commandlets. What are commandlets? You know what? They're exactly like the old XEs of old. Used to type ipconfig. Now we have these things called commandlets. They are single features, so they're always get service, stop service, get process, stop process. They never do more than one thing. Let's say we do get service. Right? It's listing all the services. So remember, it's an object. So if we were to type get service again, but this time look at get member, you can see here it has type. So this is where we find information about the type. Oops, wrong computer. Here's the information on the type. Here's all the methods that we can do to that service. So we can do things like stop the service, start the service, and so on. And it's also